in the name of the Creator, Redeemer, and Sanctifier. Please be seated. Is this the Jesus I needed this morning? I think I would much prefer a story on healing than one about division, right? Who's with me on that one? Got enough division in this world? On the surface, this seems so uncharacteristic of Jesus, right? We're talking about the story coming from Luke, where at the very beginning and at Jesus' birth, they had the angelic presence that said, "Be not afraid, there will be peace on earth." And then we had the story of Mary, the song of Mary, who talks about how she was going to give birth to this way of being that will be powerful from the lowly. And then we learned about the Lord's Prayer that Jesus taught, where forgiveness is at the cornerstone of it. And even last week, the theme was, "Be not afraid." So what's the deal with all the fire and division, you might wonder? Well, from our modern ears, or maybe even not our modern ears, it feels really destructive. I mean, especially here in California, when we think fire, we think destruction. I think Jesus is not exactly going for that metaphor. What Jesus is looking for is the sense of purification and God's presence. When the Israelites were lost in the wilderness, they were really lost. They were looking for their way, and God came in the form of fire, a beam in the sky almost, that led them out of being lost and in the dark. That fire means purification, especially coupled with baptism. And the community, they were in this space where there was high inequity, and everything was based on the family household. Who you were born from, where you were born from, predetermined what status you would have in the culture and in the community. And so what that meant was that certain individuals were permanently on this track of being the underprivileged. And certain individuals are on track to be in the privileged. Now, we might have a lot of the similar qualities that just looks different. But back then, it was structured around the family unit. And if you were to think about the kingdom of God as being a space of total love, having a system that predetermines where you are, or how much money you have, or how much wealth you have, or ability to live is going to disappear. And it's going to cause a lot of destruction, and disruption is what I mean. And so, Jesus is saying, you all are so smart. You can figure out the weather, but you cannot hear how this community cries for the kingdom of God, to be part of the world now. Maybe this is the Jesus we need now. When I was growing up, my mom was a single mom, and she went to school at night to become a nurse. And so my sister and I, for many years, were pretty much raising each other. And we were not good at it. We were terrible to each other. Mean, and it was awful. And I remember my mother distinctly always saying, just be nice to each other. Can't you just be nice? And so that was a theme in my household growing up, be nice. Now, that coupled with growing up in the South, nice had a whole different feeling to it. As a woman, nice means being a certain type to not disrupt anything, right? I think it meant that for men too. And so niceness means keeping peace at all costs. Niceness means holding back if you need to. Niceness means maintaining the status quo. Now, I don't think that's what my mother meant. Knowing my mother as an independent, strong woman she is. She meant something different. I think she meant be kind. Kindness is completely different, in my opinion. It's putting the relationship first. It's putting the community first. It's putting love first. So being nice in a meeting means if there's a difference of opinion, maybe not sharing it. Being kind is sharing it because you believe, everyone in that group believes, that the difference of opinion is going to build you to be stronger. Another example, niceness is if the emperor has no clothes, niceness would be to just ignore it, right? Where kindness would be to gently pull the leader aside and suggest and help. Right? So if we were to think about that, maybe Jesus is asking us to be kind. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. You have to remember that our culture in our world is built on trying to create the status quo. And that isn't kind at all. As our communities have gotten more populated and our family units have gotten smaller, we know more people on the surface. And back in Jesus' time, the families were larger. They knew each other more in depth, right? So it's actually harder to maintain kindness and empathy considering how many people we're connected to on a daily basis. And now we have this whole online and in-person thing, right? We live half our lives, maybe, I don't know, online in some way or another, especially if you're in the workforce right now and you're working from home. That is a lot of time online versus in person. It's so much easier. It's so much harder to be kind in both spaces. I know it sounds simple, but really, if you were to think about if we had our whole community built on kindness, things would look radically different, wouldn't they? Everything we do would be different. And that would mean a lot of disruption. But to be quite honest with you, the reality of that kindness being at that center and disrupting thing feels like we would be turning our world not upside down, but right side up, putting the kingdom of God at the center. And so today, I encourage you to be kind, not nice. I believe this is what Jesus is teaching us, and I believe this is the type of Jesus we need right now. Amen.